Welcome, everyone. This is delightful that you can join us for the next hour as we hear from Jeremy Geffen what is happening at Cal Performances over this next season. We're delighted to have Jeremy be a part of what has been a kind of cultural introduction for some, and for many, it's a return to your favorite thing to do. We've got, in addition to Jeremy today, we've got our Emerita Chancellor, Carol Christ, and Nanette Coleman, who will be teaching next Tuesday one of the operas at San Francisco Opera that's called Dead Man Walking. It does appear as if we do have Sister Helen, who will be calling in to talk about the opera, talk about the book, talk about the experience that all of this is based on. So please check that out. And then as the term really starts to gear up on October 3rd, there is a group of us that are going to the Mill Valley Film Festival. It's the first full day of the festival, and they have programmed some very special things for us. So we are delighted to continue to learn more about our cultural partners, and especially excited, Jeremy, to hear you today. You have been in our classroom, Music in the Brain. Thank you very much. You joined us for that class that took place at Freight and Salvage about a year and a half, 2 years ago. We have been involved with Cal Performances in the past. I believe it was the Mellon Foundation grant around intergenerational learning, which was fabulous to have the exchange between undergraduates and OLLI members. What were they seeing? How were they seeing it differently and experiencing it differently, and then learning from each other about that? Jeremy has been at Berkeley since 2019, and that means your season 2019-20 was in fact the year that COVID started. And so you have, as we all have, we've been through the gauntlet to imagine how do you bring your organization through that and maintain your relationship with the audience. But you are a seasoned administrator, and your love for music started way early. I was delighted to see that you started with the viola, and sorry that you had to give that up, but that meant our gain of having you as an arts administrator par excellence. And so Jeremy has been most recently before Berkeley at Carnegie Hall, and then has worked with the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra, the New York Philharmonic, the Aspen Music Festival and School. A really curious and wonderful place for your dynamic interdisciplinary mind to be, and that you also offered a weekly classical music program on the radio on KAJX. So we're really excited to hear more about what's in store. We know we know that presenting is a difficult task. But I think one of the things is that it means you really have to understand your audience. And so my first question to you before you get your presentation started is, having been in all these different places, in all of these different settings, what do you find that is unique and different about the Berkeley audience?
Well, thank you, Susan. It's a great pleasure to be here, and I have such pleasant experience memories of Ollie. It's always fun to be around this part of the organization. Um, what sets Berkeley apart, and this is not just my own impression, but something that I hear reflected back from artists all the time, is the unique level of curiosity and concentration that comes from Berkeley audiences. You may not be aware of this when you're sitting in the audience, but the artists on stage are keenly attuned to the energy that you're giving them. They can feel your concentration, and it is that sort of a very special concentration that gives them the um, the motivation, the feeling of uh, safety and security to be able to take programmatic risks. So they say to me quite frequently how what a great audience we have. That's not just reflected in silence during their performance. They can really sense that you are with them, and that is not the case in every organization. So it's something that I'm very aware of when programming for this organization. The Berkeley audience is very curious. They are as interested in the new and perhaps less frequently performed as they are in the works that make up the standard repertoire, whether that's in music, dance, or theater. And that allows us as an organization to take programmatic risks and to be leaders within the field. And that's what's provided Cal Performances with the platform that has allowed us to become one of the premier presenting organizations in the world, not just in the United States. So, Susan, as you remarked, I've been here for 6 years now, and I'm very, very pleased with the seasons that we're presenting now. What makes a presenting organization unique from a producing organization is that rather than have one building a performance over a course of weeks to its from rehearsal its first rehearsals to its final state, we are bringing presentations in that are in their final state. But that requires being able to switch very quickly from one mode to the other. If you're just thinking about Zellerbach Hall, we will go from having uh, the Vienna Philharmonic 1 week to the following day, switching into William Kentridge's The Great Yes, the Great No, which has elaborate sets and costumes, lighting, sound elements. So everything we do is slightly different, which means that we have to have the most quicksilver and experienced technical staff to be able to get it up and into a state that can be professionally represented to our audience in a way that you don't realize what sort of transformation has taken place. We present about 80 performances a season. This year, I think we're at 82. And if I, well, I, when we plan a season, my aim is that we have something for everyone, which means that there's far too many programs for us to describe in detail in one sitting, like this sitting. So I'll walk through some of the highlights of our season, but would encourage you to explore on your own. The full listings of performances can be found at calperformances.org or in the brochures that we have in your mailbox or in Zellerbach Hall. Why don't I start out with something that some of you may be aware of, but maybe not all. Cal Performances started a series called Illuminations a few seasons ago, actually the season after I arrived. And this programming is designed to connect to UC Berkeley scholarship and the themes that are represented in the world-class music, dance, and theater that we present every season. Every season that Illuminations theme changes, and this particular season is Exile and Sanctuary. It includes 7 distinct performances across music and theater, with discussion events and conversations with UC Berkeley scholars and creators, most of which is announced closer to the performance dates. As we define it, exile is more than a physical displacement. It's a rupture in identity, a stripping away of the familiar, leaving the individual or community without a sense of belonging. But it's also in this state of dislocation that exile can also lead to transformation. It's an opportunity to reimagine identity, culture, and community. Sanctuary, by turn, is not simply a refuge, but a creative space where new forms of belonging are forged. Whether we're seeking community, solace, or inspiration, art can be a sanctuary itself, which is something I'm sure resonates with many of you on this call. The arts are a powerful tool for understanding history, voice, and meaning. Illuminations will consider how exile reshapes culture, how sanctuary evolves new communities, and how artistic expression offers a vital space for healing, resistance, and reinvention. The performances that comprise this theme actually begin in 2 days with Sarabande Africaine, which is a performance that we're presenting at the Greek Theater. It's the, the brainchild of two outstanding artists, Angelique Kidjo and Yo-Yo Ma. This is the first time that they have brought this project to the United States. It was in Chicago a couple of days ago. It'll be at the Hollywood Bowl tomorrow night, and then with us on Saturday. Um, for those of you who, I'm sure everyone knows who Yo-Yo Ma is, maybe fewer know who Angelique Kidjo is. She was our artist in residence at the 21-22 season, but she is a legendary Afro-pop diva and composer, and we actually presented uh, her the world premiere of her musical, Yemanja. Um, Sarabande Africaine explores the times and places where classical music and African music intersect. Throughout the program, Western classical music is balanced by African folk music, African American spirituals, and many original songs written by Angelique herself, drawing on points of relation within various Black communities. It's a very memorable way to open our season. It's also the one opportunity within our season to experience the Greek theater, which will be glorious on Saturday. The weather looks terrific, so I hope to see many of you there. We'll continue Exile and Sanctuary with Beyond the Golden Gate on October 11. One of our favorite ensembles, the Kronos Quartet, returns with Pipa Virtuoso Woman for a program that is part music, part discussion, and part film screening. The second part of this program, Beyond the Golden Gate, explores in particular the case of Wong Kim Ark versus the United States, which through a Supreme Court decision in 1895 reaffirmed birthright citizenship. On November 22nd, Manual Cinema returns to Zellerbach Hall with their otherworldly combination of puppetry, live action, and both in silhouette and in front of the screen, and immersive sound and projections. This season, they're bringing a work which we have been very proud to co-commission, The Fourth Witch, which takes Shakespeare's Macbeth as a point of departure. It imagines a little girl orphaned as a result of Macbeth's military pursuits. After losing her home and her family, she builds a new community with three women who turn out to be the witches from that play. In the safety of her adoptive community, she must learn how to make sense of her loss and decide how she will allow her past struggles to define her future. On March 6th, we present for the first time a project brought to us by jazz artist Julia Keefe, her Indigenous Big Band, a jazz ensemble whose cultural history is inseparable from the music that they will perform. The group is made up from Indigenous and Native artists and reflects a time when many Indigenous and Native children were coerced or forced from reservations into boarding schools and families that the US government deemed more American as a method to force assimilation. Many of these children were exposed to jazz and pursued careers in music, and a significant number of noteworthy, though often overlooked, figures would go on to contribute greatly to the development of jazz through their own artistry. This big band pays tribute to these artists and celebrates the healing and reclamation made possible through music making. Some of you were undoubtedly in the hall on June 20th when Rhiannon Giddens and the Old Time Review came. She returns with the Silk Road Ensemble in Sanctuary, The Power of Resonance and Ritual. There's perhaps no title better suited to our Illuminations theme than the one chosen by this group of artists coming on March 19 and 20. So there are actually two performances. The group is steeped in American, South Asian, West African, and Southern European musical traditions. And this unique artist collective, led by Giddens, who is its artistic director, will explore music making as a deeply communal experience one that unites individuals and nourishes the spirit. Jordi Savall, who is no stranger to Cal Performances. In fact, we are the organization in the United States that has the longest history of, with Jordi Savall. I think we're at 37 years together now. He returns with Hesperian 21, La Capella Real de Catalunya, which is his choir, and Tembembe Ensemble Continuo in a program called Un Mar de Musica, a Sea of Music. This is his annual return to Cal Performances. Some of you will likely remember the program he brought several years ago called Roots of Slavery. This is a follow-up program to Roots of Slavery and will likewise honor the more than 25 million people displaced through the slave trade over the last centuries. This performance will engage three ensembles, two of which were founded by Savall, in addition to the Mexico City-based Tembembe Ensemble Continuum. And on May 9, under the direction of Laura Downs, we bring This Land, Reflections on America to recognize and reflect on the 250th anniversary of the founding of this country. Many of you will recognize Laura Downs, not just for her work as a pianist, but also for her work as a scholar and a thought leader on the history of music. She is currently a host on NPR and on the Bay Area's own classical music station, KDFC. And her work is rooted in creating spaces for her listeners to find common ground and shared experience. For this performance, she brings together folk music legend Judy Collins, yes, that Judy Collins, poet and band leader Tariana Tank Ball of the group Tank and the Bangas, the Invoke Quartet, and the Oakland Interfaith Gospel Choir to explore the rich history of music in the United States as our country approaches its 250th anniversary. I'm thrilled that this season's artist in residence is the Icelandic pianist Vikingur Ólafsson, who made his Cal Performances debut, closing our 2023-24 season in a sold-out performance of Bach's Goldberg Variation. Beyond being a preternaturally gifted pianist, Ólafsson is deeply informed and has great respect for tradition, yet he's not afraid to challenge orthodoxy in the pursuit of artistic truth. We'll have the opportunity to hear him in two different visits and in two different contexts. First, he comes as soloist with London's Philharmonia Orchestra under their principal conductor, Santu Matthias Ruvali, for two concerts, October 18 and 19. On the first, he'll perform as soloist in Beethoven's Emperor Concerto, and on the second, he'll play Ravel's Concerto in G major. That's the Ravel Concerto for both hands, for those paying attention. He then returns for a solo recital on the Zellerbach Hall stage on April 29 for a program that revolves between two Beethoven piano sonatas in E, the one in E minor, opus 90, and in E major, opus 109, interspersed with works by Bach and Schubert. He'll engage in campus activities as part of his residency, and those will be announced at a later date. Dance. Each season, Cal Performances presents a wide range of dance companies. While our programming can be relied on to welcome return engagements with familiar favorites, we take great pride in introducing our audiences to choreographers and companies who have not previously made it to Berkeley or even the Bay Area. Ever or for a long time. The 2025-26 dance season is made up of 8 companies and reflects a number of large-scale productions and new works with unique and at times unexpected collaborations. We start, I hesitate to say that we start at the top, but it's pretty close to that. One of the highlights of our season is a series of performances by the Paris Opera Ballet, who are returning to us after nearly 30 years of absence. They're making a very special trip to the West Coast for these performances. These are their only performances on the West Coast, and in fact, the only Cal Performances is one of only 2 presenters on that tour. The other is New York City Center in New York City. Their performances with us are October 2 through 4. I'm sure I don't need to say that this is one of the most historic and revered ballet companies in the world, and a company renowned for its incredible range. This particular production is a new work, and it's actually the North American premiere in Berkeley by the choreographer Hoffe Schechter, who is known for creating vivid, urgent, um, urban cinematic tableaus. Uh, Hoffe Schechter has created several works for the Paris Opera Ballet, but this new work, which was premiered in June, is his first evening length work for the company, and the first evening length piece that Schechter has created for a company outside of the one that he founded with his own dancers. I had the opportunity to see this production a couple of months ago in Paris, and am super excited to see it again. We have a little clip for you of it right now. Uh, so as you can see, though it is the Paris Opera Ballet, it is certainly not tutus and tiaras. And the piece is um, straight through a little over an hour. And as you heard from the score, is primarily electronic. And in fact, Schechter himself was one of the composers on that score. Among our returning favorites, we have the Joffrey Ballet in their second installment of our multi-year partnership to bring them to Cal performances in 4 residencies over 8 years. This season, we're bringing them in a particularly exciting program that originated at the Royal Swedish Ballet. It's a bold production bursting with life and revelry, and it's from the iconic choreographer Alexander Ekman. It's Midsummer Night's Dream, but unlike The Fourth Witch, this production has no relation to Shakespeare, but is instead an ode to the traditional Scandinavian summer solstice festival, Midsummer. The first half of the work represents the celebration itself, and the second half is a psychedelic reflection on it. It involves many styles of dance, as well as many musicians on stage, including the Swedish indie rock vocalist Anna von Hauswolf. I had the opportunity to see this piece in Chicago a couple of years ago when the Joffrey premiered it in the U.S., and it is a real trip. I cannot recommend more highly. So the Joffrey has had a long-standing relationship with Cal Performances from the 1970s, when the company resided on the UC Berkeley campus each summer. Our current multi-season residency with them began in March of 24 with Anna Karenina, which has the distinction of being the heaviest production we have ever put on our stage. It's as meaningful as it is artistically desirable to make their opening night performance of Midsummer Night's Dream on Friday, April 17, the centerpiece of our annual gala, which is sure to be a very memorable and delightfully raucous evening, to echo the tone of the performance itself. In an unusual and intriguing collaboration, on November 8 and 9, we will present a joint project from the famed choreographer Sidi Larbi Cherkaoui, produced by Sadler's Wells and the Shaolin Temple. Sutra is danced by 20 Buddhist monks who are, under normal circumstances, in residence at that temple in China. Their monks are known for their spiritual dedication, inextricably woven from their masterful physicality, particularly in the tradition of Kung Fu. Chirkawi's choreography blends martial arts with dance in an impressive and entertaining production from the perspective of a European layman on a visit to the monastery. It's further elevated by music composed by Polish composer Szymon Bruszka, with visual design by the famed sculptor Antony Gormley. Martha Graham Dance Company visits Cal Performances February 14 and 15 for the first time in over a decade as part of its centennial celebrations. There are few dance creators who created a legacy as deep as Martha Graham, whose legendary works continue to hold audiences spellbound, and it's an honor to bring her work back to Zellerbach Hall. For this program, we'll get to engage with treasured Graham classics such as Night Journey and Appalachian Spring, certainly her best known work, but we'll also have the chance to encounter new works commissioned for the company from choreographers Began Asa, Hope Boykin, and Jamar Roberts. Our history with the company goes back decades, and our history with Martha Graham actually goes back to 1916 when she performed at the Greek Theater. So it's an honor to celebrate this milestone alongside them. I'm very excited to share that among our other high-profile debuts this season on February 21 and 22, AIM by Kyle Abraham will appear at Cal Performances for the first time. Abraham is known to many of you as his works have been on our stages for years, particularly through his affiliation with Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. Some of you may remember his incredible work, Are You in Your Feelings, from 2 and 3 seasons ago. Abraham describes his movement vocabulary as a postmodern gumbo, one with roots in social dance and a love for blending movement vocabularies, including ballet and contemporary dance. The stories told through his creations often reflect Black and queer culture, and we will experience this across 3 different works, all set to live music. And another performance set to live music is Mark Morris Dance Group's Moon, which comes to us at the end of January. It's a production that explores humans' relationship and fascinations with our friend in the night sky, the moon. As with many of Mark Morris's works, this piece started with the music, in this case, specifically drawn from Morris's research into the Golden Record, the phonograph record specifically produced to include on the Voyager 1 and 2 spacecrafts to portray life and culture on Earth should extraterrestrial life ever be encountered. And as many of you know, every spring we host Ailey Week, one of the highlights of our season each year. This particular Ailey Week is notable because it will be their first visit under their newly appointed artistic director, Alicia Graf Mack, who was most recently, prior to this, director of dance at the Juilliard School, though she is an accomplished dancer in her own right, having performed on the Zellerbach Hall stage with Dance Theater of Harlem and with the Ailey Company itself. We're very excited to welcome her back to Berkeley. And rounding out our dance programming, we have a work that also makes an appearance on our family series. Momix's Alice performed over the Thanksgiving weekend, November 29 and 30. It's choreographed by artistic director and company founder Moses Pendleton. And Alice is a theatrical production that uses the characters of Lewis Carroll's classic children's novels as a point of departure. True to this psychedelic tale, the vignettes depicted in this performance are colorful, absurdist, and full of otherworldly illusions. Moving on to music performances, I'd like to kick us off highlighting 2 orchestras and many chamber groups that are coming to us this year. We already mentioned that the Philharmonia Orchestra will visit for 2 performances in October, joined by our artist in residence. Their past appearances at Cal Performances have been under their then principal conductor, Esa-Pekka Salonen. This is their first visit to the West Coast with their new principal conductor, who coincidentally also happens to be Finnish. His name is Santu Matthias Ruvali. Their programs include Sibelius's Fifth Symphony and Shostakovich's Fifth Symphony, as well as a new work by Mexican composer Gabriela Ortiz, who recently completed her term in the Debs Composer's Chair at Carnegie Hall. In mid-January, we have the pleasure of welcoming back another distinguished orchestra, the Chicago Symphony, under conductor Riccardo Muti. The, the orchestra has appointed Muti as their only music director emeritus for life. His term as music director recently ended, so he has been elevated. Their program includes Brahms' Fourth Symphony, Stravinsky's Suite from the ballet The Fairies' Kiss, which is Stravinsky's reworking of works by Tchaikovsky, and Ravel's Bolero. This season, the Takash Quartet join us for two performances. On January 25, they'll perform along with Jamaican-American violist Jordan Back. The program includes two Mozart string quintets, his two greatest string quintets. And then the quartet returns a month later on February 22 to perform the Bay Area premiere of a Cal Performances co-commission by the popular Brazilian composer and pianist Clarice Assad. This program includes Haydn's Rider Quartet and Debussy's Soul Quartet. On October 12, we welcome back the Isidore Quartet, who are, in my opinion, the most promising young American quartet today. This quartet made their Cal Performances debut in our 23-24 season, not long after winning the Avery Fisher Career Grant in 23. They had such a promising debut that we immediately re-engaged them, which is why they are coming back so soon. In this performance, they'll also bring a Haydn quartet, the Sunrise Quartet, with Dvorak's G Major Quartet, and we'll explore a work by prolific composer and Berkeley native Gabriella Smith. Her Carrot Revolution is one of her most popular pieces. It's visceral and it indulges, according to the composer, in new ways of looking at old things. On that topic, we welcome the primarily new music quartet, the Jack Quartet, who are new to Cal Performances. Their repertoire is almost exclusively contemporary, or at least works written since the beginning of the 20th century. And their Hertz program is no exception, featuring the world premiere of another string quartet work by Gabriella Smith, Aeolius, as well as a piece from the Jack's own Austin Williman. He is the first violinist, called Late Edition. Also on the program are works by Kiergo Gwilt, and Wolfgang Ring, and I believe we also have one by Hans Abrahamsen. They're incredibly dynamic and compelling, but it's also worth noting that there is a Berkeley native amongst them, cellist Jay Campbell, who attended the Crowden School. We have a lot of recitals this season. As much as we love to showcase large-scale productions, we also love to give artists the opportunity to engage in the most sort of intimate connection with audiences. And recitals are just that way, sharing the stage with one or two other colleagues or on their own. A recital gives an artist the chance to express themselves as only they can. As we go through some of our noteworthy recitals, I think it's best to start with the pianists because we have a lot of them and they're at a very high level. We've already talked about Vikingur Olafsson. Jeremy Denk will return to us. He'll play all 6 of Bach's keyboard partitas in one performance on November 14. Daniil Trifonov is actually our first performance in Zellerbach Hall. He was that's on September 28. He was last with us in April of 2022, and now he comes to us in a program that includes Schumann's extraordinary first piano sonata, as well as works you may not have heard live by Prokofiev, Miaskovsky, and Taneyev. One of the debuts that I'm most excited about is Alexander Kantorov. He's well, I mean, I encourage you all to look him up on YouTube. Uh, Among his many accolades, he uh, claimed the first prize as well as the gold medal in the very rarely given Grand Prix at the International Tchaikovsky Competition in 2019. He's been the recipient of the Gilmore Artist Awards, and he was even featured as soloist in the opening ceremonies of the 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris. His program includes works by Bach, arranged by Liszt, Mettner, Chopin, Scriabin, and Beethoven's Last Piano Sonata in C minor, Opus 111. His career has really shot up in the last few years, and I'm very proud that we will present him in his Bay Area recital debut. And on February 10, we have the pleasure of presenting a recital by Chinese Canadian pianist Bruce Liu, whose star has been on the rise since he won the first prize in the 2021 International Chopin Competition. It would be strange if his program did not include some Chopin, so we have both of the Opus 27 nocturnes, but also works by Beethoven, his Moonlight Sonata, and a trio of pieces inspired by Spanish themes, ending with one of my guilty pleasures, Liszt's rarely performed and fiendishly difficult Rhapsody Espagnole. Japanese pianist Nobuyuki Tsuji, known as Nobu, maybe we should call him the other Nobu. It gives his Cal Performances debut recital on October 30. He won the gold medal at the 2009 Van Cliburn competition. In addition to being an extraordinary pianist, he has an extraordinary story working as a fully blind musician. His program consists of Beethoven's Appassionata Sonata, Mikhail Pletnyev's virtuoso adaptation of Tchaikovsky's ballet score to The Nutcracker, and Prokofiev's diabolical Seventh Sonata. We've got a number of extraordinary vocalists in our season, starting with Anne-Sophie von Otter, who will be accompanied by the forte pianist Christian Bezuidenhout. Anne-Sophie is, well, she was certainly the defining Octavian of her generation and has reinvented herself in every decade since. Here she's performing Schubert's last collection of songs, Schwanengesang, Swan Songs, with Bezuidenhout, and Bezuidenhout himself will play some solo Schubert works on his own. Renee Fleming closes our season, or yeah, I think she closes our season. There may be one after her. There's one performance after her. She's performing with pianist Enon Barnatan on May 3rd. I'm very proud that we're presenting the Cal Performances debut of the up-and-coming American mezzo-soprano Samantha Henke. I first encountered her when she filled in at the last minute for a Carnegie Hall recital, and in every year since, she has distinguished herself, including her own run as Octavian at the Metropolitan Opera in 2023. She filled in at the last minute for the entire run of the Met's revival of their Robert Carson production of Rosenkavalier, and it had a huge success. She will perform alongside Mara Wong for a program that includes Schubert's magnum opus, Dichterlieder, as well as a wonderfully multilingual set of cabaret songs by Kurt Weill, Cole Porter, Poulenc, and Satie. And rounding out our vocal recitals, but actually beginning our indoor series, is a local hero residing in Oakland, Aria Nussbaum-Cohen, who many of you will recognize from performances at Cal Performances as well as at the San Francisco Opera. He is performing alongside John Churchwell, and their program is aptly titled Uncharted. It brings together the classic as well as non-traditional repertoire tied together by the theme of nature's beauty. As Cohen himself remarked, as a countertenor, you're so often performing early music that this is a rare chance for him to extend into romantic and contemporary music. So there are songs by Brahms, Clara and Robert Schumann, Erich Wolfgang Korngold, and as well as songs by H. Leslie Adams and Florence Price, and the West Coast premiere of a Cal Performances co-commission from Cal Performances trustee Jake Heggie. We'll get to Joyce DiDonato in a moment, but it would be remiss. I would be remiss if I didn't mention her in this category. We have additional recitals. One that I'd like to call out from the New Zealand-born violinist Geneva Lewis alongside Everett Ozil on March 1. Geneva won the Borletti Buitoni Trust Award and has an Avery Fisher Career Grant, as does Ozil for that matter. Ozil made his Cal Performances debut last season, so this is a return for him. And how often can you say that you get to hear a saxophone recital? I'm very, very happy that we're going to be presenting an absolutely extraordinary saxophonist, Stephen Banks, in recital with pianist Zach Bjerken. The program, well, as you likely know, there's not a lot of repertoire, well-known repertoire written for the saxophone and piano, so he is stealing a bit, but very well from works by Beethoven, Barber, and Saint-Saëns, as well as performing works by Carlos Simon and a new work by John Musto. I have to say, I got to hear him, I got to know him through the Avery Fisher Artist Program, and his performance on saxophone of the Mozart Oboe Quartet is the finest performance of that piece I've heard on any instrument. And lastly, in this category, I'm so excited that we're going to be welcoming Chris Thile back to Cal Performances. Many of you likely know him from his sadly defunct radio show Live from Here, but Thile is a virtuoso on the mandolin. He's also an extraordinary vocalist, so his program will consist of both of those. You can expect an evening of outstanding music with personal stories, songs, conversation, and vast artistic exploration. And I think we have a little clip of him.
Let your medicine ring. We need it. Oh, let your medicine ring out over hell or high water. We hear you coming. We pray you're going to catch your breath. Let song be our
Mm, beautiful.
So I may fast forward through much of this, seeing as we have limited time. Cal Performances had a long-standing dedication to new music. Our audiences are greatly interested in it, and it's our duty to champion new work. We've already talked a little bit about the Kronos Quartet and the Jack Quartet, but Time for Three is new to Cal Performances. On February 7th, they're coming with Joyce DiDonato in a new project that Cal Performances has co-commissioned. It's by the composer Kevin Putz, whose opera The Hours included Joyce, and it's called Emily No Prisoner Be. It's based on a set of 24 Emily Dickinson poems, and it promises to be a wonderful evening. On February 22, the members of AMUC, American Modern Opera Company, who opened our season last season with Harawi, combined with four mallet percussionists from Sandbox Percussion to perform Canto Ostinato by the minimalist Dutch composer Simeon ten Holt. And on a bittersweet note, last year, the world lost a remarkable luminary and tabla virtuoso in Zakir Hussain. We had been planning a project between Hussein and Third Coast Percussion. Um, Following Hussein's death in December, we determined to move this project forward with one of his uh, disciples, Salah Nader, as a tribute to Hussein. And so on November 1, they'll perform Murmurs in Time, which takes its name from a work on the program composed by Hussein. It includes some other works commissioned from Jesse Montgomery, Tigran Hamasyan, and Jalen, as well as a solo piece performed by Nader. We have a lot of early music next season. Many of you have become familiar with the English Concert, whose annual visits to us have always centered around a Handel opera or oratorio. Their performance of Julius Caesar last season was one of our highlights. This season, they're bringing one of my favorite Handel scores, Hercules, which is technically an oratorio, though not on a sacred theme. The leading role of the demigod's jealous wife, Dejanira, will be sung by Swedish superstar Anne Hollenberg, and William Gwangbo Su will take the part of her ill-fated husband. We've already talked a bit about Jordi Savall. The Tallis Scholars return to us with, and well, one of my favorite pieces, Thomas de Victoria's seminal O Magnum Mysterium, which rarely gets heard. So this is a real opportunity. There are other pieces by De Wet, Tallis, and Arvo Pärt. Some of you have heard the extraordinary violinist Théotime Langlois de Swat. He's returning to us with his recital partner, harpsichordist Justin Taylor. They were together here 2 years ago with their group, Le Consort. He is a man possessed on the violin, just a real joy to hear. And on November 9, we're bringing the period ensemble Twelfth Night to make their Cal Performances debut. You probably remember the violinist Rachel Ellen Wong and harpsichordist David Belkowski, who made their recital debut at Cal Performances a couple of seasons ago. This is the ensemble that the two of them founded, and it's a pleasure to bring them. And moving briefly on to jazz, we've talked a little bit about some of the performers that are coming, but Cecile McLaurin-Salvant, always a highlight of any season, returns to us on February 5th. Somi, who was born in Ohio to Rwandan and Ugandan parents, comes to us on February 21 to Zellerbach Playhouse. We've mentioned Julia Keefe's Indigenous Big Band. We also have Marc Ribot rounding out our jazz programming on March 7 with a live original score to Charlie Chaplin's silent film, The Kid. Theater. So one of the projects that is most difficult to describe is The Gathering, which is a theater and dance project brought to us by Samar Haddad King. Yas Samar Dance Theater was founded by King, and this piece tells a deeply human story of a woman whose village is gripped by war and her subsequent attempts to reconcile her fragmented memories. I may recommend that we skip this clip and send you to the website to review it, because we're going to run out of time. And then on March 13 and 14, our neighbors from across the bay, Opera Parallel, are bringing their beloved and highly esteemed production of La Belle et la Bête to Philip Glass's renowned score. Manual Cinema, we've already talked about. And there are other performances in our season, but I do want to be cognizant of the fact that we are running low on time and want to offer anyone who would like the opportunity to ask questions about anything that I presented or haven't presented.
Dennis, we will take your question, but we would like to ask everybody else if you could please put your questions in the chat. And Dennis, here we go with you. Are you there?
Sorry, that was a mistake.
No,
Oh,
no,
Please
no.
proceed.
Oh,
well,
okay. Well, please put your question in the chat. That would be wonderful to hear if you did have a question that you wanted to ask. Jeremy, I can't tell you how much you brought there. It's such a colorful program that you have, which I have in front of me here. But to hear you talk about having seen these productions, your firsthand experience, and to know some of the origins, of these artists and the times that they've been at Berkeley before, it's really helpful. So I have begun several different lists, including the program on things that I need to look out for, and I'm sure that others are doing the same. Do we have any questions? Please put them in the chat. And please let me point out in the chat that an article has been put in the chat that's on the Cal Performance site around the kind of artistic planning that goes on in the Cal Performance season. Anything else that people have to ask? And so, Jeremy, is there anything that you want to say yourself in conclusion around, I don't know, much explanation about
mhm.
what an incredible set of offerings. Let's go here. Um, Richard Hill says, I can't believe the variety. Season tickets.
We are still selling subscriptions, but single tickets for the entirety of the season are also on sale. So
Always.
there is a discount that comes from purchasing subscriptions.
Yes.
Um, and I think there was a question about matinees. We have a lot of matinees. So almost any time you see a Sunday performance, it will be a matinee. And we actually do have a few Saturday matinees this year, including the Paris Opera Ballet. Uh,
And mhm.
Discount. I see it. Discounts. Um, so the best way of obtaining a discount is actually by subscribing. The level of discount increases with the number of performances number of events that you purchase. If you are a faculty or staff member of UC Berkeley, there are also discounts that are provided. And if you come with a group, there are group sales discounts.
That is for Ollie members, keep that in mind. That we've got different ways that you can communicate with us if you want to bring a group together. But also, one of the strategies that several members have used a variety of subscription series they participate in is to buy a subscription series and then post it to Ollie's. Nancy, do we say the Ollie at Berkeley?
Ollie B Connect, Ollie
Ollie B
Bulletin Board,
Connect.
and the
Yeah,
Bulletin
Ollie
Board.
B Connect has been one place where I have purchased tickets from Ollie members who bought a subscription and can't make a show, and so there's a ticket or two that's available. It's a wonderful way, an important way of supporting our cultural institutions. And oftentimes, some people can only make a decision, a few days before. So it's perfect, when the Ollie B Connect works in that way. And then I think we may have come to this beautiful conclusion of an hour. And Jeremy, thank you so very much.
No,
Um,
thank you for the
Extraordinary work.
opportunity to speak with you all about this. I love my job, and one of the things that drew me to Cal Performances was the variety of presentation that we can offer. It is unique within the performing arts world, and it keeps me on my toes, and it's just fun. So
And I think we all need more fun.
yeah.
So. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for coming today. And Jeremy, thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan,
Okay.
and thanks,
Bye-bye
Krista,
now.
for running the slides. Okay.
Okay. Bye-bye now.